Ian.
Hello, Dave.
Chris.
Hi.
Everyone, tonight we are honored. We have Chris Landry on the show, half of the iconic duo that makes up Gears and Queers, and amazing Twitter presence, right? Thank you for coming on the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So you came into our orbit just through Weird Car Twitter, right?
Oh my God. I can't imagine how that went for you. Okay.
No, we love your enthusiasm for Hondas, your adoration for your ML, and I actually have you and I's very first Twitter interaction, and it was a hard and fast follow right after we had this.
I'm glad.
So let me share my browser window here, and I'll pull it up here. It is.
I can only imagine what this is about to be.
It is this one right here. You said, show me pics of your terrible car. I would like to see them.
And you. Oh my God. Yes, that makes perfect sense. Yep.
Yes.
I'm just jealous and in awe of someone to be so concise and accurate.
I'm trying to read that list. What did you have? I can't even remember. I know that obviously that's a 500 a Barth.
Right.
What happened to it? What was the story? I can't remember.
Yeah, so it cooked an exhaust valve, so I had to rebuild the whole head and clean out the oil pan and do a whole thing. And then when I was rebuilding it, then the engine grenaded again, so I had to rebuild it again. But it's running now.
Wow.
And
that's a saga.
It is. But I do want to let you know that because of this tweet, I think about this once a day minimum. And
for anybody who's only listening to the audio, Chris posted a picture, or Dave posted a picture of his Abarth half apart with a big long list of things he has to do, and Chris just replied, "You sick fuck. Incredible." just
I mean, where is the lie, right?
None detected.
It's perfect. I seriously have thought about it at least once a day since September 23rd, 2021.
That was a good thread. I don't know if you mentioned it, but I tweeted, "Show me pics of your terrible car. I would like to see them." And I saw some terrible cars that day.
Yeah. And I have to say, we've met a lot of people in Twitter through threads that have started with the same initiative. Mm-hmm. We met Victoria Scott that way because she was like, I want an online car show, an online car meet. Show me, here's what I have. Here's my amazing aero deck. What do you got? Right.
I love the aero deck.
Right. Yeah. And so we're very thankful that you came into our orbit. You are an absolute delight and a wonderful presence online, and you bring joy to our lives. So we absolutely wanted to have you on the show.
That makes me so happy to hear, because I always just think are there people on this planet that are as, enthusiastic as me about a very obscure thing? And the answer is yes. And a lot of them are on Weird Car Twitter. And I was thinking about this today. My 1990 Accord, which is one of my two Hondas, is objectively the least interesting vehicle I've ever owned to from a broad standpoint. And yet it is the one that gets the most attention from people on the street. Twitter loves it. I don't know, it's in constant, it makes me in constant awe that people give a shit about a 32-year-old Honda Accord. And not just car enthusiasts, but especially Weird Car Twitter enthusiasts. It's amazing. I love it. It's exactly my type of people.
So how did this Honda come into your life? This is your light brown beige 4-door Honda Accord, right?
Yes, Seattle silver metallic. And it was actually bought new in Seattle. Fun fact.
No way.
Yeah. So this car, I wasn't even really looking to buy a car. But I was on Craigslist, as one is wont to do. There she is. Her name is Honda Babe, because I'm really creative with names. What was I saying? Yeah, so basically, I was on Craigslist. I typed in manual. That was it.
Yeah.
Cars and trucks, manual. Yeah. And I was scrolling through, And I saw this one, and the guy had taken some pretty decent pictures of it in the listing. I will give him that. So the photography was nice. It was a little appealing. But I was like, when is the last time anybody saw a 90s Honda of any type, let alone an Accord, that appeared completely stock and in like decent shape? And it was a 5-speed. And it's an EX, so it's the top of the line for 1990. And I was like, okay. And it was listed at like $2,250. I didn't end up paying that, but that's besides the point. And I was like, okay, my parents had a 1989 Accord in those same colors, but that was the one with the flip up headlights.
Gotcha.
And so it kind of like struck a little thing within me, and I was like, maybe I should just go look at it. Well, I went and test drove it, and at the time it had like 244, something like that, 1,000 miles. And I got there and I was like, this car has really clearly been taken care of, but maybe not maintenance wise in the last couple of years. Like it ran well, it drove really well, but like it probably needed spark plugs, the AC didn't work, stuff like that. And so I drove it and I was like, I think I need to buy this car for no reason. I was like, I need to buy this car. Like I have to protect it. And it's cute. I don't know. I was like, I want it.
I do want to say, like, I think we've all done that. The thing that you just did of like, let me tell you the reasons why this is a bad idea. And then I'm just going to pivot right to the bad idea being a reality.
Absolutely. I lived in an apartment. I had nowhere to work on cars, like an apartment with like a parking deck.
Right.
And I already had my G35 that I have since sold, which was like a reliable daily, like fun enough car.
Get that out of here.
Yeah, right. And I did. But anyway, more on that later. But so I bought this car and I was like, okay, now what? But that's actually almost, God, I bought it in October 2018.
Oh,
so we're
okay.
coming up on 4 years, which is weird to think about. It's almost, I think that'll be the second longest I've ever kept a car is this one.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Like those like super clean cars from that era are just head turners, period. Right?
It's so weird.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, but it's not really, because if you think about it, like I remember seeing, I grew up in the 90s because I'm an old person, but like this is equivalent to, I remember seeing like a Dodge Dart when I was a kid, like a 60s Dodge Dart, which was at the time basically the equivalent of this, right? Like they were not anything special. They were kind of considered like crap cars.
Right.
They were not cool. And I was like, I saw a really clean one and I was like, oh my God, it's a cool old car. And my dad was like, no, that's like, those were garbage. Like you don't pay attention to that. It's the same thing, right? Like
it literally is.
If you see a 30-year-old car that's really clean, it looks out of place and it's interesting.
I also threw on that Atlanta 1996 plate because I don't know if you noticed that, but
that's awesome.
I live in Atlanta. We love the Olympics for some reason, like the one time they were here in the 90s, whatever.
Right.
But this car, I think I mentioned, it was bought new in Seattle and immediately brought to the Atlanta area. It has been in the Atlanta area since like, I'm not sure exactly when, but maybe when it was like 1 year old.
Okay.
The first owner had it for 25 years.
Okay.
And
there you go.
Then I found this out through like I think it was Carfax, like one of those things. And I found I'm about to reveal how insane I am. I found his information in the owner's manual written inside the front cover, like in the area where it's like, in case of emergency, whatever that is, you know? I looked him up on Facebook because I was like, maybe this guy is still alive. Like there was an address, so I was able to confirm who this person was. They just so happened to have a wife who is an author. Again, I'm sounding really insane, but I figured out who the person was, messaged them on Facebook, and I was like, hey, I think I bought your Accord, blah, blah, blah. Like, would you answer some questions for me about it? And he was like, yeah, like that was my Accord. Like, bought it in Seattle, had it for 25 years, moved down to Peachtree City, Georgia, and loved that thing, blah, blah, blah. Lots of great memories with it. Like, we loved that car. And it changed hands a couple times between him and me, because I got it in 2018 and it looked like it had gotten sold at an auction, like, the title history and stuff. But he was glad to see that it had ended up in the hands of somebody who like gave a shit about it and
right,
was going to keep taking care of it. So that was cool. I feel like that's a pretty rare thing. Like, people don't usually keep cars for that long.
But I feel like that's how these stories usually end up, though, of like, I thought this person was going to be totally weirded out by me being a weirdo, and then it turns out, no, it's a fellow weirdo.
Yeah. And like, you kind of got to be to love a car like that.
Right.
Also, I think like the general rule with a car like that is that it goes from parent to child usually. Right. And so like to see that like the parents were like probably like, nope, you're getting your own thing. Like Pappy's keeping his Accord. Right. Like I like that kind of broke the mold there. Right. Yeah.
Well, what you said with parent to child is exactly what happened with the 03 Accord that my mom used to drive.
Okay.
My parents got brand new, gave it to my brother, and he still has it.
Oh, wow.
And that's been his only car. My brother's 4 years older than I am, has had one car, and that red Accord behind my 1990 is my 10th car.
Okay.
So I have, been around the block with cars, and my brother's like, no, this one's cool. And it has over 300,000 miles. He still takes really good care of it. Like, it's fine.
Did he marry his high school sweetheart or a person that he met in middle school? Like,
no, he didn't do that. But I guess he just likes that car, and he's just like, I'm gonna keep this one going as long as it keeps going. And I'm like, okay, well, am I not doing the same thing just with like old cars?
Right. No. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're a foster home. You're
I'm
foster parent.
Street cats. That's what these condos are when I get them. And I feed them and give them a bath,
Yeah. So the recent acquisitions have been this Accord in 2018, your two-door coupe, right?
Yes.
And your ML, right?
Yep. My 1999 ML320 that I got in June of 2021.
Okay.
I got that a little bit over 6 months.
Now, I am intrigued with your ML because I also have an older luxury car. I've got a 2008 Lexus LS. And like, I want to keep it like so stock and as it is. And I just like it. I love it. Like, I just really love it. So tell me about how the ML came in. Tell us how it came in and yeah, like your thoughts around it. Because some stuff has happened.
Yes. So the ML in this picture is in the garage, and we'll get to that. But basically, I've always kind of been weirdly fascinated with, that's my doggy. I've always been kind of weirdly fascinated, they're scrolling through my Twitter, with the W163, the first ML, Mercedes-Benz's first like dedicated luxury off-roader. Because yes, the G-Wagon existed, but it was kind of like a military vehicle at first, and it morphed into that luxury object. Many people don't even realize that the W163 was supposed to replace the G-Wagon.
Oh.
And they said, okay, maybe we can't do that. People like that one too much. But
it's a bit of a Ford Probe situation.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the Mustang, right? And they were like, we're kidding. We're just, nobody said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So the ML, my ML is body on frame. Only the first generation is. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. So it is like pretty much a truck. Like, they are not the most reliable vehicle on the planet. Again, more on that later, but they're pretty solid. They're like a truck platform with like pretty heavy duty components. But anyway, ever since the movie American Beauty, where the mom, Carolyn, drives one of these in this exact spec, the silver over gray, because that was like the promotional, like the media press car color scheme. I have always been fascinated by them, even though, like, I'll admit it, they're like kind of weird looking and they're just kind of goofy. Like, they're not exactly, they weren't going for like super luxurious when they built these at first. It was more of like a step up from a Grand Cherokee. And then they were like, oh, people actually want these to be nice. We're going to start adding stuff. So mine is a pre-facelift. it is like, it's got heated seats. It's like, leather inside. It's like kind of nice, but when they did the facelift on this platform, they really made it a lot nicer.
Okay.
But I have a soft spot for the first gen. I used to keep a tab like on Craigslist, like see if they came up for sale. Sort of what I did with the Honda. And what's that thing that like all the YouTubers do? Auto Tempest?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I found my car with Auto. Well, unfortunately, I did find this with Auto Tempest. I say that unfortunately because like it sounds like a weird promo-y bit.
Not a sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah. So I found it in South Carolina, like 2.5 hours away from where I live in Atlanta. And I was like, okay, well, it looks like it's in good shape. I was like, okay, I guess I could go look at it because I do like these. And I called the guy and I was like, look, please just tell me how the car is. Like, I want to come see it. I can handle a couple of small weird issues, whatever. Like, I just want to know before I get there. I was like, because if it's as described, I'll probably buy it. And he was like, it's great. Like, it was one owner until they got it, and they only had it for like 3 months. They gave it to their daughter to drive, and then she got a better car. And they were like, we don't really need it. That's the story I got anyway. And so he was like, at the time, neither of the key fob remotes worked. So like the remote unlock and lock. He's like, that just happened. And he said it had a check engine light on, but that it went away.
Whoa, I love that. Yeah.
It went away when I cleared it.
Well, no. So like I got there and it was like, I checked the code. It was like a pending code for like some purge valve or something that was like under the hood on the top of the engine. Like,
right.
so
like
easy
there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like an $18 part, something like that. I was like, okay, whatever. Like I can fix that if it's wrong. That code never came back, knock on wood, to this day. I have put over 10,000 miles on the car. Nothing.
Nice.
But it drove so nicely. It had rolled 220,000 miles while on the test drive. And I got a picture of that and put it on Twitter. And like transmission shifted beautifully. Like everything worked. It was great. So I offered him, I think he wanted 3,000. I was like, will you take 2,750? And he was like, yeah, that's weird, but like, okay. And I bought it like on the spot. And it did not break at all for 10,251 miles. And then the transmission exploded. So
right.
My suspiciously reliable ML just said, I'm done with this particular part of me, the part that makes me move.
I will say that while you were saying that story about how proud you were that the $18 part didn't fail, I was picturing like a mission accomplished banner just unfurling behind you, like, woo, we did it!
Yep. And damn, when that happened, it was like very sudden. And they like the shops that I took it to said that probably something small failed inside and just like destroyed everything else. I was like, okay, well, like that transmission shifted perfectly. Everybody that rode in that car was like, wow, this is like a really smooth transmission, which was probably like literary foreshadowing. But
right.
It was so reliable. I had driven it to Virginia and back. Like I daily drove it, like many out of town trips, multiple hours away, like didn't skip a beat. And then less than a mile from my house, just exploded. And we have to give her credit for like not doing it like in Virginia or somewhere else, you know,
stranding you. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a little fascinated with these because I am also like, I was in high school in the 90s. Your ML was in every single rap video in 1998. Right.
It was a new vehicle type.
Right. It was everywhere. It was that. And then a year or two after that, it was nothing but Jaguar S types. Right.
Yes, it was. Yes,
right?
It was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that you're keeping this ML because like, so talk us through like the transmission decision stuff, right? Because like I read your article and watched your video about it. They're fantastic. Thank you for putting that stuff up. So talk us through like the journey of like kind of the commitment to the car and the mechanical sympathy, like stuff like that.
Yeah. So that happened, and I was like, okay. I at first thought it was the transfer case, which maybe I should have been so lucky. It probably would have been easier and cheaper, but that's apparently been replaced. So let's be thankful. But so I had it towed to a shop, and they were like, your transmission exploded. And I was like, okay. They were like, to do a rebuilt one will be $6,600. And I was like, that is more than twice what I paid for the car. And I towed it to another shop because the first shop was like, you should probably just get a used transmission. It'll be cheaper. They're pretty good. And he was like, we don't do used transmissions here, but I'd like to see it keep going. I was like, thank you. So I took it to another shop, had it towed to another shop, and they were like, yeah, the transmission exploded. And I was like, cool, great. And they told me that they would put in a used transmission and they would put on some new parts that have proven to be, not so reliable on those transmissions, and basically set it up for success as much as possible. And because they are pretty good transmissions, like the failures in the earlier units do happen. Mine is a 99, 98, 99 were the first years, but it also made it to 230,000 miles.
Right. There is that.
Let's throw her a bone, know?
Right.
And unfortunately, I really like the car. It's weird. Like, it's one of the most satisfying cars I've ever owned. It's my first SUV. My first 4x4, they were all 4-wheel drive in the first generation. It actually gets decent highway fuel economy. Like, around town it sucks, but on the highway it's actually pretty good. And I don't know, you just don't see many of them. I feel like even when you do see the first generation, you see the facelift ones. So it just was fun for me, and they are actually pretty nice to drive too. So, not to mention, I do get very sentimental with my vehicles, and with the time that I've had this car just since June of 2021, I've gone through some emotional peaks and valleys, especially with my mental health. I've been in therapy, and that is always a journey. I just started dating someone very shortly after I bought the car, and we've had all of our first moments, many of them with the car, first date and doing all kinds of things with each other. We took it to my parents' house for Thanksgiving, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was just I liked the car. I was attached to the car. It went with me to my mental health evaluation, a lot of important moments with the car. And I put quite a few miles on it in a pretty short amount of time. So I wanted to keep it going because I also just don't think we should treat cars as expendable. Clearly, I like older cars.
Sure.
I have two 1999s and a 1990. And they all have, the ML is the lowest mileage, 230,000 and change. The 1990 Accord has 260,000. And the 1999 Accord has 270,000 plus.
Wow, Chris.
So I might not make the most financially sound decisions by keeping older cars going. And I can't remember if I said it, but it was basically going to be $4,600 all in to get the ML back on the road.
Right.
And I had conversations with a few people should I do this? It's objectively stupid. But ultimately, I kind of was if I got another car like this one that was better, excuse me. If I got another car like this one that was better, it'd be more expensive. Cars are so expensive right now.
Right.
What even is happening with prices? But also the emotional factor of it. And the fact that it was really well taken care of, everything else works really well. I felt like it was probably a safe bet to get it fixed. And aside from a small issue that is on its way to being fixed, the ML has been back in action, and I'm excited to really take it out again once the other little tiny issue is fixed. But yeah, it's just an important car to me. It might not be to everybody else, but to me it is.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I think oftentimes with our cars, Ian landed on this one day when we were talking about his Volkswagen. it's not like the best, like what people see as the best version of X car, but like it's yours and like you think it's the coolest, right? And there's so much to that. Also, I think that like sometimes when people like see this decision from the outside of like spending $4,600 or $4,400 to put a car back on the road, right? A 1999 back on the road. I think that oftentimes they overlook the value of like the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
That's so true. And Better the Devil You Know is a Kylie Minogue song, and I'm a Kylie Minogue stan.
I can't believe it took us this long to land on a Kylie reference.
I was gonna get it in whether I tried to or not.
I mean, if you want, we could take a break and just watch the Madonna Frozen video for a while.
Which is an iconic bit of cinema.
It is. Chris Cunningham directed it. I love it. So anyway.
What a wild one.
Anyway, yeah, no, I think that like what we do from the outside can be seen as pretty crazy sometimes, right? But sometimes like I think it's a thing that like we need to do for like our mental health. Like sometimes you have to go there, right? Like Ian has kept his Volkswagen from 2004 for so long, and I don't see him ever getting rid of it. You know, it's a fantastic little car, and I love it.
It has most of the paint still on it, so
it's got some.
Yeah.
Right?
It's reddish still. It's fine.
Yeah, no. So I think it's really admirable, and I really like what you're doing, and also so like you do a lot of work on your cars. Like talk us through like how the mechanical aspect of that has like helped. Like what's going on with how you're doing with that?
Yeah. So part of the decision with the ML was realizing I didn't want to tackle that myself. And I think that one of the most important things you can do if you're going to wrench on your own car or whatever, anything mechanical, is to find your line in the sand and like clearly draw it. So one example, and we've got the Accord on screen right now too, that car I bought for like $1,800 and have put $2,000 plus into just AC work, and my whole rationalization for that, because it has broken 3 times since I've gotten it fixed. I live in Atlanta. It's hot as hell during the summer, and the car would be more usable to me, and I would drive it more throughout the year if the AC worked. So I was like, okay, apparently, what the compressor is like the only thing that hasn't been replaced at this point, but now all of it has been gone through enough that, knock on wood, that would be the last piece that would need to be replaced. It has worked very well for the most part, except when it breaks. And I do drive it all the time because of that.
Right.
It's just like you're not going to take the car with no AC in the middle of July or August, like when it's 90 plus degrees outside and you're boiling alive. So definitely the purchase price of an older car is not always the entire aspect. And with the ML,
right,
it really was just like, I like this car. I want to keep it going. It's unique. Not everybody has one, and
it like invented a genre. Right? I mean, like it was the first one of this like luxury SUV truck sort of thing. Like, and now they're everywhere.
Yeah, like the first one designed to be, and people will go toe to toe with that first gen RX, but that was like a unibody. So like in my eyes, no. But yeah, it's just an interesting car. And I think that older cars that many other people would just be like, that's not worth fixing, are interesting to me. And unfortunately, I am tasking myself with keeping them alive. So yeah, maybe I could have a newer car with all the money I've spent, but that's not how I want to do it. I like it the hard way.
So one thing we love on this show is there's a thing on the Rock Auto website.
I'll pull it up.
Have you ever seen this where it gives you the relative comparison for what it costs to buy parts for 2 different cars?
No.
And they're sometimes very hilarious. The disputed champion of this, by which I mean the worst one, is my old car, which I had a 2008 Saab Turbo X.
Oh God. Okay. I already see where this is going.
And it would just like, you would throw a Cayenne at it, please. No, it was like twice as bad as a Cayenne to fix just like whatever. But I'm really curious to see how the ML stacks up. So basically,
comparing it to the Saab.
We could compare it to whatever.
To anything. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How about we compare your two cars, like the Honda and the Mercedes?
That makes sense. Let's do that.
Okay.
So this is just like what it costs to buy aftermarket parts on Rock Auto for whatever car, and they give you like different categories like engine, drivetrain, whatever.
What's your 1990 have? It's the 4-cylinder, right?
It's a 90. It's they all have the same engine, two versions of it, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have the 1999 Mercedes-Benz ML320, right?
Yes.
Okay. View parts comparison. Your Mercedes-Benz is 2.02 times as expensive to maintain as your Honda Accord.
Just from the cost of parts.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they hide it way down at the bottom of the page. It's called the repair index calculator. And we apologize for your productivity at work tomorrow because you're going to spend the rest.
You're just rewriting my whole life right now. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, so given the fact that you have 3 older cars and a fantastic garage, I have to say, you have the best decorated garage on Twitter. Fantastic area rug, not a throw rug.
Every garage needs a vaguely Persian looking rug. I'm convinced.
Yeah, I'm here for that, right? Yeah. Screw your epoxy floor. Yeah. Right.
What's that?
So like, how has it been like managing? Like it's probably not, given what you have, it's probably not too bad to always have one in good running condition, right? Yeah. So like, how is that? Like, you don't have to play whack-a-mole too much, right?
You know what's funny? Lately, there has been some whack-a-mole.
Okay.
My family is Greek, and I always say bad things come in threes, and I'm like, okay, I think that may have happened. The ML's transmission exploded. The exhaust cracked on the 1990 Accord at the back of the resonator, which is apparently really common, but happened to most of them in the late 90s. And mine just somehow survived until 2021.
That's amazing.
But it is louder now, and you can replace, like, you can still buy. The thing about the Accord that I think might be skewing this graph as well is how many aftermarket parts are available, like versions of every part. Some that are just like the shittiest of the shit, up to like sometimes you can still get OEM stuff. Like I was able to get a new OEM main relay, and everything in between. And I feel like the European cars that I've had, it's usually like of OEM, like from Mercedes, which for no reason costs triple the price of the exact part from the manufacturer, and then maybe a shitty one that's still expensive.
Right.
So like there's a whole lot going on there, but it's amazing, really, like how that works.
So are you waiting for the third thing to happen? Are your loins a little girded here? Because the ML transmission, the exhaust on the Honda.
I also, it's funny how I forgot this part, but I want to say the day before the transmission exploded, I had quit my job.
There we go.
I think that those 3 things ended up happening, and I had still like worked another month after that. Like I had given a notice, but I was like, the next day I was like, okay, do I really? No, this is what it was. It was the night before I quit my job that the transmission exploded. And I was like, gonna quit my job pretty much. I was like looking softly for a new job. I was like, is this the right time to quit my job? But I was like, no, I gotta do this.
Right.
I'm gonna figure it out. I had already bought, no, I had not already bought I can't remember if I had already bought the coupe by then. And I think I had just bought it. That's what it was. It was that Sunday. I had just bought it. And I was like, okay, I can make this work. I don't need the ML right now. I don't have to fix it right away if I don't want to. We're going to be fine. And yeah, so like lately it's been whack-a-mole-esque, but usually they're all pretty fine. I try to keep them on the road. Like I don't just like to let them linger with an issue. I like to get it fixed pretty right away because I also like driving them all.
Yeah.
I usually rotate them out. So
that's awesome.
I feel like, if cars are your friends, the ML just launching its transmission a mile from your house, when it knew you were kind of mulling this big decision, it was just like are you sure?
Yeah.
That was what that was. That was like sitting you down with a beer, like, let's be sure about this.
Let's think about this. And you know what? I got a new job. I got my new job offer 9 days after my last day at my old one. I had already done the interview like while I was working on my last few days, and it all kind of worked out because now I have a better paying job, so I can afford to fix my old German vehicle. And isn't that what the meaning of life is?
Yes. Yes, as the owner of 2 German vehicles, yes.
The Honda's like
the entire purpose of life is to keep them running.
Especially I was about to say the Hondas are just like, yeah, whatever, dude, as long as I get a teaspoon of oil. Yeah. When I bought the 1999, it had a check engine light on, and the battery had actually died before I was able to go check it. So like the ECU reset. So I have no idea what the code was. But I also noticed that there was no oil on the dipstick, and I had to add 3 quarts to get onto the dipstick. And the car holds, I think, just under 5. So there was distinctly not a lot of oil happening in that engine when I bought it for God knows how long.
But the real question is, how many replacement engines could you buy for the cost of one Mercedes transmission?
Oh my God, like 5, like at least, right?
Yeah.
I think it already has had a replacement engine because the like grease pen from like junkyard parts, there is some on it, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, whatever. The car itself has like 272,000 miles, but I added oil and it hasn't blown up and it sounds fine. Have you guys ever watched God, what's his name? Legit Streetcars on YouTube?
Yeah.
He does that like 90s camera. He's like, how long will it run with no oil? And then they realized that there was like a cup of oil in the oil pan left over that was like keeping it from seizing. Like when it had no oil in the pan.
Okay.
And then when they took the oil pan off is only when it finally seized. And I'm like, maybe that's what this Honda was doing. And ever since I added oil, the check engine light has not come back. So maybe it was just like, hey, what are you doing? Can I get a quart, please?
Just pray that light never burns out, right? Like that's the tear, right? Like
that's
right.
That's the equivalent of that's the person at the end of the bar who's like been standing trying to get the bartender's attention for like 6 months and they're never going to get a drink.
My boyfriend, when we started dating, he has a 2013 Chevy Sonic, and the check engine light had been on for a year for a purge valve that was very cheap, I think less than $20, that I bought and replaced for him in less than 5 minutes.
Right.
Every time he would start his car after he filled it up, it would not start the first time because I guess it failed open and there was a vacuum leak. And he just dealt with that for a year. And I'm like, okay, what if we had, a little bit, and the car had like 68,000 miles on it, like way less than my shit heaps. And I'm like, maybe you could have gotten that taken care of. He's like, it was fine. I'm like, we have different ideas of mechanical sympathy in that I know what that is and he doesn't care.
Right. Right. Yeah. I like the mechanical sympathy aspect because like that runs so deep, right? Like if I see my dishwasher like still turned on after I empty it, I'm like, oh, little buddy, like it's okay. Like I turn it off.
Go to sleep. You're fine. Yeah. Yeah. I do that too. It's so insane.
Right? Like it's like
personification.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
And also when you fix your boyfriend's car or like were you, because from what you've described on Twitter, he is not, he doesn't work on his own cars, right?
No, he doesn't. Everything about cars to him is witchcraft.
Okay. Right.
He wants to keep it that way.
So you're a magician.
Yes.
Yes.
I do something. He's like, great, fantastic, amazing. Thank you. And I'm like, do you want to know how? He's like, no.
What does he think of that? The upgraded head unit to Apple CarPlay and all that stuff.
So I mean, he obviously appreciates that because like it's like a user interface thing, like a user experience thing, and he likes that newer cars. Like I even put a CarPlay unit in the ML.
Nice.
He likes having that feature, and it didn't have that feature before. And then the door handles, were like slicing his fingers and like anybody that would ride in the car's fingers. What was the other thing? I mean, the check engine light, he probably could care less, but like appreciates that the car functions well now.
Yeah.
He got that car brand new. And I think maybe, when you buy a new car, it doesn't generally need attention for at least a few years, or at least that's the idea. Whereas the cars that I buy are like, we always need attention.
Right.
So
right.
there's a different commitment level, and basically I told him, I was like, if you like are okay with your car being the reliable one in our relationship, I will take care of it.
Yeah.
Right.
He was like, that's fine. And I was like, great.
And you were like, you have no idea what you just signed yourself up for.
We used to drive the ML everywhere. And lately it's been the Sonic, but guess what? The Sonic gets 1 billion miles per gallon, and that's actually been kind of nice. So
yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as he agreed to that, you had 17 Craigslist tabs open.
I was like, listen. Yeah. I was like, and he's like, okay, what about a moratorium on old Hondas? And I was like, I can maybe promise that for a little while.
Do I need to refer you back to section 4, subsection B of our agreement from 5 minutes ago?
Yeah. The cool thing about the 1990 is I have kept up with it over the years. Like I said, the AC works. Aside from it being a little louder, like you could drive that thing anywhere. Like she's fine. She's ready to go. She doesn't have any major issues. The 1999 could stand to have a few things taken care of, but I also got it for like $500. What do you want for a car that cheap? The fact that it moves is pretty cool, And then the ML, there's like a spring apparently that's like $5 that you can replace. That'll address a slight drivability issue with the transmission. Already got that on order. Gonna do that myself. And she could really use a pair of rear shocks. And on this chassis, they're apparently really annoying. So I may pay for that too, just so I don't have to think about that car for a while.
Yeah.
We're currently deciding, but
yeah,
I don't need to fix it right away,
I like that. Like, I like that you can, like, it's not a house of cards that you have built, right? Like it's very manageable. And I think that the automotive landscape, when we have to like depend on it for getting to work, like commuting, running errands, that kind of stuff, like doing some things or making automotive decisions to reduce like the level of stress or what we have to manage in our daily lives goes a long way, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah. My Lexus is just an automatic. It's just a base 460. There's nothing to it, but I don't really have to think, like, I don't have to worry about it too much, right? Like I preemptively replaced the alternator just because, I mean, like I had 140 something on it, right? It's like, I don't want to worry about this, right?
Yeah, you're like, I can do it now while it still works and isn't stranding me.
Right. Yeah. No, if I was just like reading the Rorschach of like your car stuff, I would see someone that's in a good place. Like
you're like, he is a little weird, but he also seems to be having fun, so we're gonna let him have that.
Right? That wasn't a Rorschach test. That was just all the fluids underneath.
Yeah. The ML got a new rear main seal with that transmission, so like every other seal had been replaced except that.
Okay.
And you could just think of it as the transmission needed to come out anyway. Why not it be a different one? Throw it back in.
Yeah.
That's the most like curveball while you're in there that I've ever
stretching that one around as much as possible.
Well,
while you're in there.
That's awesome. No, I love it. So, Ian, do you want to play a game? We have a couple games for you.
Yeah,
let's play a game. I want to play a game.
Yeah, let's do FMK cars first, and then we'll close out with the license plate because I think that's the star of the show. So, you guys did a great video on your friend's Supra,
the 87.
The 87 Supra, and it was cool because you guys were kind of talking about. It was a naturally aspirated Supra, and so you were saying like basically you don't have to have the top level car. You can just give yourself permission to have like the next coolest car.
Right, base model king.
There you go.
That I would buy a shirt with that, hands down.
We need to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that too because I always want to get the cool version, but now I feel like with modern cars, even like the fast ones of the the 1987 model, or even my car was fast when it was new in 2004, but by modern standards, like it's slower than a Camry now. So who gives a shit? I have an FMK cars with all about the second coolest version of these cars.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay? So FMK cars, it's just based on the classic game of Fuck, Marry, Kill, but we play with cars instead of people. So I'm going to give you 3 cars. You're going to assign FMK. There is a twist with this. So this one's called "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's carbon fiber front splitter."
Oh my God.
Owning the second coolest version of a car.
I think I might know where this is going.
All right. So the catch is everyone you interact with has the coolest version. So you can get a Cobra Super Snake, but you're surrounded by Daytona Cobra coupes.
Interesting.
Okay, so everyone you meet who's into cars is going to have a Daytona coupe, which is like super rad.
Okay.
The next one, you get a Porsche 996, 911, whatever one you want, the GT3 RS, whatever, the 996 one.
But it's still a 996, and people are going to talk shit.
Because everyone else is going to have a 1973 911 RS.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting option.
I have such a soft spot in my heart for the 996. I feel like owning one for me eventually is going to happen.
It was the first Porsche I ever drove.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And so that I do also have that soft spot.
Nice.
Well, and I wrote
the fried eggs.
We actually did this one on the show like several years ago, and since that time, the 996 has sort of come up in everyone's esteem. So this is a little bit dated, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the last one is a Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera. So the coolest Gallardo, but you're surrounded by Lamborghini Miuras.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to say fuck the Gallardo because like she's cool, she's great, whatever, but like maybe I don't want that for life.
Yeah.
Marry the 996 because I clearly appreciate a good underdog and they're still great to drive. Like I don't think many people, if any, are disputing that. And honestly, kill the Cobra because I just never really got the like muscle car itch. I would like to own one at some point, or like a nice big barge, like American barge, but it doesn't just get me going in the same way.
Sure. I get that.
Yeah. Great.
I get that. Like, what would you do if you had a Gallardo for a day? Like, would you whip through Buckhead and just flip everyone off? Like, what?
I don't even know. This is really weird. So I did one of those like supercar autocross things one time. Like a friend got me like a gift, and they had a Gallardo, just like a standard one, and a F430, Ferrari F430. And I was trying to decide which one to drive. They were both like the automated manual options. And I was like, I think I want to drive the F430 because It's lighter, and I just thought cooler. I don't know. Like, I thought it'd be more interesting to drive.
Yeah.
Love the idea and ostentatiousness of a Lamborghini, but I don't think it would be really me.
Okay.
Porsche speaks to me more in like you can do a lot of different stuff with it. Daily driver. It's not that showy.
Right.
You know?
Little understated. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think you've chosen well.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. No,
They're slept on.
Yeah. The fried egg, headlights, everything. I
mean, not anymore. They're not. 3 years ago when I wrote this or whatever, it was definitely stuff like that. But now they're crazy expensive, just like everything else.
Like ironically cool now, maybe.
Yeah, I think everyone is just like ran out of other Porsches to buy, so they're just like, oh, we'll do this one too.
Maybe also that. Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair.
Now, the other game that we have for you, I think it's interesting that you mentioned you had an Infinity.
I did. Oh, no, I don't like where this is going.
Well, I also had an Infinity. I had the M45 from 2006.
Oh, and that was a good one.
I loved it. And the catalytic converter started failing and it started overheating. And that's an engine out service for that thing. So I got rid of it.
Were they rattling?
No, it was overheating pretty bad.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Mine started to rattle on my G35. Like the material, the honeycomb was like separating from the enclosure.
Yeah. Okay. So
we have a theory about Infinity on the show. Is this what you were about to say, Dave?
Yes.
Did I interrupt you?
No, go for it. Go for it. I love it.
The Infinity has the largest gulf between like stereotypical first owner and stereotypical second owner of any car maker. Like,
that is so interesting.
Right? Because like there's like a slightly like end of your career realtor is the first owner, and then like vape smoking stance bro is the second owner, and there's nobody in between.
Right.
So here's the thing. I bought my G35 from the second owner, and he like took care of it, but he definitely seemed like he probably vaped.
Flattest of brims. I mean, the flattest of brims.
Actually, no, he 100% vaped. I remember this because he told me he would tilt up the sunroof while he drove and like blow the smoke out of it. Not the smoke, the vapor out of it. So he did vape.
I mean, that tells you everything. He's selling his Infinity, and he thinks the best tip I can give this new owner is how to vent the vape smoke.
Right.
He painted or like plastic dipped the logos and put a Kohler intake on it, and thankfully that's where he stopped.
I already knew that he did that.
Literally, I peeled off the plastic dip like day one, and it was just clean and in good shape, and I left it like that and just, did things here or there to improve it, like appearance wise and stuff. It got crashed a lot, but I digress. I agree 100% with the not first owner stereotypes, and it was one of the most irritating things about owning that car.
Yeah.
Was that everybody else that had that car like drove the fuck out of it, drove like a dickhead, did stupid modifications. Like, you just got lumped in with that crowd because of it. Even though I tried to keep mine as stock or stock appearing as possible and in great shape. But in everybody else's eyes, it was just like an annoying car, even though they were really great. Like they were. That car drove amazingly.
Yeah. They're great cars. Great. They looked amazing. I love the way they looked. Yeah. Great interior, fantastic seats. Like the
seats were good, and the driver's seat had electric upper and lower bolsters.
Nice. See, my M didn't even have that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't have heated seats.
Okay.
It was an option.
Yeah.
My car didn't have the premium package like every single other one did. So it was kind of cool in that aspect, except it wasn't.
Okay. Base model.
Sounds like one middle-aged realtor didn't have as great of a year as they thought they were going
to. Right. Like, you got the sport package, but you left off that one. Like, I mean,
what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Tanner?
Sell one more house. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have a license plate game for you. There may or may not be an infinity in here, right? So I will present this. You will see 3 different cars with their vanity plates blacked out, and you will see the list of options from the side, right? And so you match the plate to the car, use all the clues that you're getting. And so like, if you'd like, when you're taking it in, we'll narrate a little bit of it and tell the folks listening, like what you're going through emotionally.
And this game really rewards gross generalizations about people.
Yes. This one is titled, I Don't Know You, But I Hate You.
I love where this is going.
Okay. All right. Well, yep. Okay. Okay. So I thought I gave you the answers up front. Sorry.
Okay.
So up top, we have a black Ford F-150. In the Ian is cringing.
I haven't seen these either. So
yeah. So both you and Ian will be guessing at this.
God.
On the bottom, we have a black Ford. Is that a Fiesta or a Focus? Focus ST, right? In the middle, we have an Infiniti that's had a couple modifications. It has the entire front bumper removed and like one of the like drift missile welded
Is
bumpers.
that what that is? Oh my God.
Now the license plate.
Drift missile.
yeah.
Oh my God.
The license plate options you have are, and I apologize in advance, there is potentially it's one of those words that everyone hates to hear. I'll be saying that coming up. But one license plate option you have is for you to envy. For you to NVEE. Another one you have is the King with a 1 for the I. And the third one, I hate it so much.
Do you want me to take it?
No, I'm fine with the word. Yeah, it's moist. MOYST, moist.
That's somehow worse.
I know, right? And the fact that the fucking Colorado DMV let him get that.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that no matter what car has what plate, all of these plates are incorrect. None of them are accurate.
No one's the king.
These people's
no
situations.
One's moist.
Oh, wait. Are these the real plates from these cars?
Yes, these are the real plates.
So
this is not making up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I've seen one of these in person, and then some of our friends sent in these two. So I'll zoom in on the car so you can see like the disc golf sticker on the Ford F-150. Okay.
That's an interesting clue.
Yeah. On this one, also, sometimes you'll notice that I keep the license plate frame in if I feel like it's going to kind of give you some context.
The experience.
Or if it's going to spoil something, I black the whole thing out.
Oh,
interesting.
Here's the Infiniti. It has a quick release steering wheel, so Chad doesn't have an airbag, so he's going to have a quick release sternum if he gets
Chad dies like, what's that sticker? It's like, we die like real men. Like, yeah, sure, totally. That's what we should be aiming for with masculinity.
Exactly, right? Yeah, some kind of sticker or some kind of air freshener, maybe to help with the vape smoke. I can't tell.
Probably.
Right? Yeah, this bumper's seen some things.
These are pretty aggressive tires.
Yeah, he's probably because Chad has taken away the parking sensors when he put
oh my God, and that left tire is fucked up. That alignment is bad.
Look at it.
I guess the right one's not that much better.
Yeah, and then lastly we have the Focus ST here from CarMax with the fat Air Jordan sticker. I don't know if you've seen that before, like the fat Jordan sticker. I think it's kind of funny, but yeah. Right.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
So talk us through what you're thinking. Ian, Chris, go off.
Okay. I'm going to start with what I consider to be a safe bet, and I'll tell you why. I'm thinking moist goes with the ST because of ST being in it. And everybody I've known that had a Focus ST was a little special in their existence. And I'm thinking that's just kind of in line with that sense of humor.
Okay.
Do you agree, Ian?
So my first thought was that Moist would go with the disc golf.
Interesting. Why is
I don't know.
Both Chris and I were very put off by that.
I don't know. I feel like anyone who's that proud of participating in disc golf, which is the most boring and pointless pastime on the planet, must also be convinced that they're God's gift to women.
I can see that. And I do accept that, though I gave a different answer.
Yeah, no, but I think your answer is better. I think your reasoning is better. I tend to way overthink these things. So I think the ST, matchy, I think that makes sense.
Ian gets in there and noodles for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I think went on the F-150 is the King, because to me, like, you drive a truck, like, Twitter is already going to talk shit about you. You got the disc golf, like, I don't know, you're probably old, and you probably think that you're more important than you are because you're probably a man, and men just are awful.
When you've got a big throne that you're sitting on in the truck.
Right.
Sense.
So you think you're the king, even though it's not a king ranch. Like,
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, not a king ranch.
Nice. Okay.
Well, that does leave the Infinity, the Chad drift missile, as for you to envy.
Chad.
And let's be honest, everybody that modifies their G35 to fuck and back thinks it is like the best shit on the planet when they have made the car infinitely, pun intended, worse than it was just in factory form.
Right.
They sounded good. They drove great, and everybody just makes them worse.
I agree.
It's better.
I also assume that this is how they write their like formal work correspondence as well.
Email Sig for you to envy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm so interested to see.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the answers?
I'm so scared.
Do you see why I called it I don't know you, but I hate you?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Here you go. Here's the answers. You got
okay, I got the King.
You got the King. Now, I do want to zoom in and show you why I blacked out the license plate, because I don't know what the fuck this person's deal is, but their license plate frame says, "The King loves his elf." Yeah, as if this dude couldn't get any weirder.
I don't think that for those of us who are not experiencing this moment with video should... The face I just made was... I don't even
shock
know.
And horror.
Well, I just looked and you were making the same face that I was.
That, of all the directions I expected that to go in,
Right?
Yeah.
it was not in that one.
Right?
Well, but I just also want to point out that, and I know that none of these people who make these sorts of decisions care about this, but there is a very intentional capitalization choice that has happened in this sentence. And
Elf is capitalized.
And elf is capitalized, which makes it worse.
I'm very scared.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening here, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the elf is in the bed of this truck, chained to the bed of this truck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When you visit Colorado, we will protect you from the King.
That is literally terrifying. I do not like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, so there we go. I'll make the bad man go away with my scrolling.
We went to another one.
Yeah, that's zip tied onto the drift missile bumper.
Of course it is.
That's amazing.
Oh my God. I guess, is Colorado, y'all got front plates?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know. Yep. And then for you to envy, I really liked your reasoning for the ST, because for the Moist to the ST, because you're right. So many people like lean into the ST puns, right?
Have you seen like the Fiesta ST? They call it the
fist.
Like,
yeah, the fist.
I'm just like, okay, maybe we don't go that direction, but that's surprising, but also not, because there is overlap in the people who would badly modify a G35 and badly modify an ST,
yes.
a Focus ST, or a Fiesta.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They run into each other at the vape shop.
Right. They're both the same kind of person. They just bought different form factors for their bad things to do bad things with. Those are both good cars. I like those cars in stock form.
Yeah.
I don't like what people do to them.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. I was in my M45 one night with my buddy PETA, who sent one of these in, right? I think he sent in moist. We were at a stoplight in the M45. Like, the only aftermarket thing was like stainless steel brake lines on that car, right? And next to like a G35 that was just slammed to the ground, purple lights everywhere. And I was like, you are getting the entire spectrum of ownership, like right here. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I hate that.
Yeah.
Those M45s are so good. I don't know if there's many other Infiniti models. I do weirdly like the FX, and I like those M's, and like even the, what did that become? The Q70.
Yeah.
I had one of those as a loaner once, and that was a really nice car.
Right.
Drove really well for a larger sedan.
Yeah. I loved my M45. I think it had one of the best engine to automatic transmission combos.
I think that had the same automatic transmission as my car, and that was a good transmission.
Right. It just like, it didn't overthink stuff. It just was fast enough, you know? Yeah. It was.
Did yours rev match downshifts?
No, it didn't.
Mine did, and it had magnesium column mounted paddles.
Oh, no way.
I'm like, people were like, oh, you got an automatic. I'm like, okay, first of all, suck my ass. Second of all, it's good. Okay. It matches the car very well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was just their whole center stack infotainment stuff I don't like nowadays, but yeah. Yeah.
It did go in the wrong direction when CarPlay became a thing and they were trying to do their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I fully support you getting an FX45.
I like those.
Yeah.
The Bionic Cheetah.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. They
probably somehow get worse MPG than the ML.
Yeah, you're gonna get 14 to 15 miles per gallon,
which is amazing. The thing about a VQ, well, I guess if you're talking about, I think that was a VK or something.
Yeah, the VK. Yeah.
Let's just say an Infiniti Nissan engine. It's pretty good. It is going to get awful MPG. Like my G35 was a 2007. That was the first year for the VQ35HR that revved higher. I think the red line was 7,600, which for like a car that like grandma's bought, because it was the same engine in like the base trim. That was a car making a V6, a 3.5 liter V6 making 300 something horsepower in 2007.
Right.
It was still like competitive levels of horsepower for that size engine like a decade and a half later. Yeah. It just happened to get really bad MPG in the process.
Yeah.
But mine, I sold mine with about 180,000 miles and it still drove amazingly.
Nice. And I hope it didn't get chatted out.
I mean, we didn't tell you, this is it right here. We tracked it down.
The girl that bought my car, she was like, her boyfriend has a Q50 that's like, I think tastefully modded, but like slightly modded. She like loved like the Infinitis, like the G35s and the Q50s. She wanted one of her own that she could do like a few things to. And she sent me like, she got, I think she got high flow cats, which if you do exhaust right on those cars, it does sound really good. And like a couple other small things, just like aesthetic improvements, which is very subjective, especially with the G35.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that my car went to somebody who like wants to take care of it and enjoy it. And she happened to really like that car, and I could tell. And she still asks me things about it here and there. But I'm an OEM plus woman, and I have to realize that not everybody else is.
I like that. OEM plus. Yes.
OEM plus.
Right? Yeah.
It has to look semi-factory or like it could have been.
I'm definitely there with my Lexus for sure. Yeah. The Abarth, not so much, but yeah,
It's a different animal.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm going to get a license plate that says Moist 2.
No.
Yeah. How much did you have to bribe the DMV person?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right? Yeah.
Sometimes you see ones and you're just like, how did that get through?
Right. What if like that was their last name for some reason? Like they just happened to, luck into that in their life. The DMV is like, our hands are tied here. We have to let it through.
They're like, his name is Moist. Their name is Moist.
Yeah. So thank you for playing the license plate game with us.
Thank you.
FMK Cars. Yes.
I feel a little bit more concerned for my safety after the license plate game, but it was fun to play.
Well, so let's talk about where people can find you and all the stuff that you're doing. Obviously, they need to follow you, Chris K. Landry, on Twitter. That's just a mandatory follow, period. Right?
You get some terrifyingly intimate access to my daily thoughts on there. And if you're also slightly neurodivergent, you'll probably appreciate it.
And wonderful pictures of your dog, who is freaking adorable.
My dog.
Right. Yes.
My dog, Madonna, and Hondas. That's what you're getting.
Yep. Madonna and Honda's Landry.
And Kylie Minogue. Let's be real.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What else? Where else can people find you?
You can find me on gearsandqueers.com, which is the website for our platform, Gears and Queers, which is what we described as, oh, look, it's on the screen. How convenient.
And I've accepted the cookies.
And you've accepted my cookies. Card things for kings, queens, and everyone in between, which is our way of saying a platform for queer automotive enthusiasts. Because Jake, my co-founder of Gears and Queers, and I are non-traditional in car enthusiasts in the sense that we feel like the car scene is still like mostly attributed to like straight white dudes, which there are many kinds of, but the typical kind in the automotive scene is not the best one. So basically, he and I had never met anybody else that was into cars that was also like kind of an effeminate gay man. And we wanted to just be ourselves authentically and explore car stuff that we wanted to do and meet other people like us. And that's pretty good so far with Gears and Queers.
That's amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your guys also doing stuff for Jalopnik too, right? You have
we do
Project Driveway, which is awesome.
Yeah, so Project Driveway on Jalopnik is us. It's been a little bit of like how-to stuff. Relatively recently, we started doing some stuff like like the autocross video right there. We try to keep it really approachable because both of us started learning out how to work on cars just by being like, all right, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. Like I can look it up on the internet, I can find a video, I can find a write-up, and a lot of stuff just sounds harder than it is.
Yeah.
So of course everything is subjective. Like looking at the spark plug video, everybody was like, oh yeah, well, have you tried that on like a V6 minivan from 1992? And I'm like, no, we did it on a Honda. Shut up, leave us alone. Like, it's, of course, everything is subjective, but we kind of go like very high level with it. And we want it to be like, we even say at the end of most of the videos, like, if we can do it, you certainly can. Like, no gatekeeping the automotive enthusiasm. Let's not gatekeep the wrenching. Like, if somebody expresses an interest in something, help them get into it. Don't just be like, oh, well, you can't do this because you don't know anything about shit about fuck, like stuff like that. So
yeah,
we're just two silly girls and we like to have a good time. And sometimes cars go into that.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. Yeah. Who is responsible for writing the article titles? Because they're fantastic.
Some of those, we actually didn't write the one about you don't have to be straight, but your headlights should be. And at first we were like, can we say that?
It's fantastic though. It's really funny.
Sometimes we do them, sometimes we don't. But we were like, that one's actually pretty funny because it's like, okay, also the thumbnail is like, I don't know if you guys follow Gators Daily on Twitter or like other platforms, but like that flag came from them, and it says "fuck around and find out." It's like a play on like the "don't tread on me," but like I think like a very leftist adaptation of it, and it's got like the Progress Pride flag, which also has trans colors and like colors for POC. Yeah. So that's like, it's like kind of a good like sneak peek into like the vibe of the stuff we put out.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. We're here for it, and we love it, and we're so thankful that you came on the show. Yeah,
thank you. And I have to mention also, we are on YouTube.
Okay. Yes.
Subscribe to our YouTube so we can feel validated by making the kind of stuff that we do.
Yes. Yeah. You have to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Look at that right there. Boom. Subscribe's already grayed out.
Boom. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Chris. This was awesome. Again, anytime you want to come on and chat about whatever. We had like 3 other things listed that we wanted to talk to you about, but we will get to that next time.
Yes, we will. Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
All right. Everybody else, thank you. Goodbye. We love you.
Bye.